Well, thank you for meeting with me today.
Oh, sure. My pleasure.
Thank you. Excuse me. I wanted to know, so I've heard that you started playing piano at 2 years old. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, that was organ, actually, Hammond organ. And then I
Right.
started to, it's like any kids, you know, they start playing with the keyboards
Yeah.
and with their sticky fingers after eating candies and all that stuff. And,
Yeah.
you know, that kind of thing. But I discovered the black keys first.
Really?
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah, because, when you look at it
Uh-huh.
for the first time, it's pretty fascinating to watch just to see how he looks, black
Right.
keys and white keys. And you notice it's like a pair of 2 keys and a pair of 3 keys
Right.
on the black keys. So I said, wow, that's interesting. So I just played 2 notes and 3 notes, and I discovered, the pentatonic scale, which is all the black keys. And that got me really interested. I still remember this because I played the white keys. It didn't do anything for me. It's just a C major scale.
Right, right.
But black keys are very characteristic, So I said, and then you probably know the pentatonic is a Japanese major scale, so you can play a lot of Japanese old traditional songs with just
Right.
black keys.
Right.
So I started playing that kids' songs, and then I got tired, and I learned this song called the Mack the Knife, and that's from the German was something opera 3. How do you say that in English? But anyway, so there's this simple piece I learned, and I played it for my father.
Who was also a jazz pianist.
Yeah, he's
right?
a jazz pianist. Yeah, and he's still active, by the way. Good for him. He's 81 now. And anyway, so
Still young by today's standards.
I know, and so that's how I started. And I started to learn songs by ear. I didn't read music. I couldn't write music. And then at age of 5, my mom told me to take a piano lesson, just for the heck of it. Organ and piano has a completely different touch on the keyboard.
Right.
So I took the piano lesson for the first time in my life. But then, the textbook for kids,
Right.
like a typical practice
Right.
pieces. And I just literally hated it.
Really?
Oh my god!
Interesting.
It was just so boring. The music was so boring, Just like da 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 da. It's like, I was already able to play a song
Right,
on organ,
right.
and on piano I have to,
Start over,
Yeah, I said to myself, the piano, nah, not for me. I don't like the sound.
Interesting.
So I quit
Uh-huh.
after one lesson. That was only half an hour. I said, Mama, I don't like this. So I kept on learning music by ear.
For organ.
Yeah, organ.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and then occasionally I played piano.
Right.
When my school teacher, music teacher, asked me to play something for her, and I did it. But the piano wasn't my thing.
Right.
And at the age of 12, my uncle was supposed to go to Oscar Peterson's concert, and I didn't know who he was, of course, and he couldn't go, so he gave me the ticket,
Right.
the free ticket.
Right.
And
This is in Japan, right?
this was
Still?
in Japan, Osaka,
Right.
and so I said, well, what's this concert? He said, it's a jazz pianist, a great pianist. Do you like it? I said, yeah, what's the piano?
Right.
And I got there. It was like a very first row, the front seat. I was sitting not excited like this, And so this black guy came out and started playing. It was a solo piano concert. And at the first note he played, I was like, what the hell, And then I was glued to this, and I was like crying, and
Wow.
I was...
Were you with your parents?
No, I was by myself.
By yourself?
Because,
At 12 years old?
Yeah, because my uncle was supposed to go. He gave me
Right.
his ticket. He couldn't go.
Right.
So that's why, he had a single ticket.
Wow.
So I went there, and I just could not move after the concert.
Yeah.
I was so impressed and touched, and so I went home and I told my mom to find me a piano teacher.
Wow. 12
But
years
here's
old.
the thing.
Yeah.
I told her I want the teacher to teach me how to play the piano, but I
Yeah.
don't want he or she to teach me the music. You know what I'm saying?
Interesting. Just
I want the technical
the
part.
technique, yeah.
Yeah, but I don't want nobody to tell me how to play this song. I want my way.
Interesting.
Yeah, I was
At 12
always like
years
that.
old, you already knew that.
Yeah, I mean, I was the kind of kid that if someone tells you, okay, you want me to show you? No, I want to find out.
Interesting.
It's a very,
Yeah.
in a way, independent, but it's also arrogant. Very, extremely.
Right, right.
Anyway, so that's how I started.
Wow. Wow,
Yeah.
that's fascinating.
Yeah.
So nowhere along the way was this like forced by your parents.
No.
Traditionally with Asian kids, right?
Nobody told me to practice.
Wow, but you did anyway.
Yeah, I did anyway
Every
because
day.
there are some songs that I wanted to play, and if you
Uh-huh.
want to play that, you have to
Sure.
practice. Yeah.
Did you practice every day during your
No,
childhood?
no. Actually, if I have a song that I want to play, I come home from school. I spend hours and hours listening and memorizing it. You know, and then practice it.
So it was always like passion driven. If you found that one
Exactly.
song.
Exactly.
So
There's nothing else.
So you started at 2, and then 12 was the transition into piano. So during that 10 years, how often would you think you practice if it wasn't every day? Like roundabout.
It's hard to say.
Every week at least, for sure?
Yeah, at least once a week.
Right.
But you know, until I know the song, I probably play an hour a day. You know, something like that. And then I get bored.
Right.
You know, I get tired of
Right.
you know, because trying to transcribe is take a lot of concentration and everything. So I said, okay, that's it for today, and then I
Right.
go out and play baseball or something. And so probably an hour a day, and sometimes 2 hours at the max.
Right.
You know,
So during your childhood years in Japan, did you have a lot of access to jazz music?
my father is a jazz pianist.
Right.
That was the only source, and then so he was playing himself, and he was also playing the records.
Right.
And so I randomly picked a lot of records, LPs, vinyls
Yeah,
he
right.
had,
Right.
and then played it on the stereo. So I was surrounded by jazz music all the time. So it was like it's like if you're surrounded by a certain language that you hear like 24 hours a day, you pick it up.
pick
That's
it
how
up.
you learn the English
Right.
probably in the first place, right?
Right.
Like
Right.
my native Japanese is that way. So to me, music is exactly the same as language. You know, it's to express how you feel.
Right.
You know,
Right.
and yet you have to learn a technique, which actually is driven by your left brain, as they say, and so that's why it's hard. I'm teaching now at the Kunitachi College of Music, and I'm head of the jazz department. But it's so hard to teach them how to listen. They listen, but they don't listen for the same thing as what I'm talking about.
What do you tell them to listen for?
It's like the goal is to listen to what the person is trying to say. You know?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, but it's like when you're having a very shallow conversation with someone who you just met.
Right.
You talk about the movie,
Right.
but then, you want to talk about the drama.
Right.
You don't want to talk about the details on the movie, So they're picking up a lot of details. But I want them to feel, so it means they would have to have their own experience as a human being,
Right.
emotionally speaking.
And what if they don't? Then it's impossible.
Yeah,
It's
but if
difficult.
they're young,
Right.
then imagination comes in.
Uh-huh.
That's what I think one of the greatest things the human being has, that the imagination. You can imagine, okay, well, probably he's feeling this. And you're usually right. It's like you say to your friend, you come in, if the person says good morning this way, wow, okay, maybe he had a fight with his father, or his friend,
Right.
or whatever.
Right.
Maybe he broke up with his girlfriend, whatever.
Right.
But if the guy comes in, like, hey, good morning, what's up?
Right.
He's already there.
Right.
So it's that kind of thing you have to read when you play music.
Right.
And I think I got that from, not because, I got that because I didn't really get into music by reading and being and someone telling me what to do.
Right.
Which happens a lot in school nowadays. That like a lot of teachers tell you what to do.
Sure.
I never tell my students what to play.
Interesting.
You find out, or you hear what I play.
But when you
Yeah.
ended up at Berkeley, you must have experienced that part, right? Having teachers tell you what to do.
Actually, no. I had great teachers. They only told me what to do when I asked them. But it's because they have methods already. They already have music. We have text.
Right.
And especially in jazz music, it's so important that how you interpret is basically everything.
Right.
You know, because
Right.
you have to project your personality
Sure.
in any music you play.
Sure.
Because you're improvising. You know.
Mhm.
And I think that's why a lot of classical people find out that my classical playing is very interesting. And even some of the guys said it was so refreshing. My Rhapsody in Blue was so refreshing. They played it hundreds and hundreds of times with so many different piano players.
Right.
And basically the same because they play what's written. And of course I improvise. But still, when I play Mozart, they say the same thing. You know, at least I haven't been stabbed, so I'm doing okay.
So tell me about your classical background. I mean, so far we've heard about all the
None
jazz.
until
None.
10 years ago.
10 years ago.
Wow. Well, here's the thing. Because I hated the classical music.
Why?
Because of this experience of at the age of 5,
Yeah.
I didn't like written music,
Okay.
and I didn't find it. I probably was scared as I got older. I was probably interested to find out,
Right.
but I knew this wasn't the music I play.
Okay.
I was playing jazz. I
Right.
was like, it's on surface it's completely different.
Yeah.
Blues. It's like almost like a white color and blue color.
Yeah.
I'm
sure.
wrong, but but it's almost like that if I use that as a bad example. So I didn't care for classical music until I was older. Much older, like 20 years old, 22. After I graduated from Berkeley. My goal was to sound like Oscar Peterson when I was a student.
Yeah.
And because he was my idol, I liked the way he swung, and it was so happy music,
Right.
And a lot of teachers told me, Makoto, you can play piano so well, and why don't you try to come up with your own style instead of mimicking something?
Right. Right.
And I said, yeah, but I'm not going to be one of those people called artists, like I'm not going to be making CDs,
Wait, how old was this?
This was 21, 22.
So you were at Berkeley?
I was at Berkeley, yeah. And I was like, if you play like Oscar Peterson, you sort of become a star figure.
Right.
Because it's very flashy and brilliant,
Right.
fun, fast, impressive, And so at the graduation concert, Quincy Jones was a guest of honor.
Oh, interesting.
And he gave me diplomas to everybody. And he came and grabbed me and said, okay, let's make a record.
And you never thought of that before?
No, I was like...
So, trace back a few years then.
Yeah.
Before you went to Berkeley, so we know your history up until 12 years old. What happened? You went to Berkeley at 18? 17?
19.
19, okay.
Yeah.
So between 12 and 19, what were those years in terms of your music? What was going
12
on?
and 19? Oh, well, I just kept on transcribing Oscar Peterson all the time.
Okay.
And I wasn't even interested in other piano players. Bill Evans, everybody says, oh, Bill Evans is great. Yeah, but he's dark, He's like, he sounds so lonely on that music. and Chick Corea, I said, well, I don't know, he's too modern for me. So I always found some kind of excuse not to get into it.
Right.
Oscar Peterson was like, he had like hundreds of records,
Right.
And I said, oh my God, I hope I can transcribe everything before I die.
Right.
Right. So that
And
was
this
my
is still
goal.
in Japan, right?
Yeah, this
12
is
to
in
19.
Japan.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I went to Berkeley because I wanted to learn the what do you call it? The theory, musical theory,
Right.
and also I loved big band, and I played with the big band a couple times in Japan, and I actually had a jazz teacher. He was a big band leader, so that's how I fell in love with big band music, and I wanted to enable myself to write for big band. So that's why I went to Berkeley.
So before you went to Berkeley, though, when you made that decision, did you know that music is going to be your life?
Oh yeah, I
That's
knew
it.
that all my life.
You knew that all your life?
Yeah, but I didn't think I would be doing
A
this.
recording artist. Do you remember a particular age or a particular moment when you thought to yourself, this is it, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life?
Even when I was a kid, I knew I was good.
So it was just natural?
Yeah,
whole way
I
through?
knew I could make a living on music,
Okay.
doing music.
Okay.
That's as far as,
Right.
I didn't, as I said, I was not going to be, I wanted to make people happy. Because when you're a kid, when you do something and, and all the
Yeah.
people around you goes crazy and then you're making them happy. And, so that was the reason why I was playing music all the time.
Yeah.
So that's why Oscar Peterson was so great, because he has this instantaneous connection with anyone who listens to it. And unless it's a hardcore jazz fan, then I said, well, Oscar is little, he's not really jazz. That's what some people said. Now we're just talking about definition of jazz. That's
Right.
all.
Right.
but that was the reason why I kept on transcribing Oscar Peterson's, thing. And then Quincy offered me a recording deal, and also CBS Columbia at the time offered me a recording deal.
Right.
And I was in trouble because I never spent my time trying to come up with my own style.
Right.
And if you're gonna have a debut album, self-titled Makoto Ozone,
right,
what are you gonna do with Oscar Peterson style? You know?
Right.
So I told myself, okay, well, what's the complete opposite of jazz music? And I said, well, maybe classical. Of all this time, I hated this music. I mean, didn't hate it, but I didn't care for this music.
Right.
But I think it's time for me to check it out.
Okay.
So I called up my friend. She was a pianist and going to conservatory at the time. So I said, what do you think I should listen to? Because there are so many composers.
Of course.
So she said, well, you've been playing jazz music all your life. Maybe Mozart or Beethoven wouldn't do anything to you. So how about...
Interesting.
Yeah, because it's so traditional sounding. How about Prokofiev?
Ah.
So I went to a record store.
Yeah.
And she told me to listen to Concerto No. 3. And I got the record of Ashkenazi playing and Previn conducting.
Yeah.
And again, I felt like the same thing as Oscar Peterson's first concert.
Frozen moments.
Yeah, I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry I missed this kind of music until now. What am I, stupid?
Yeah.
So I listened to that record almost 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
In Walkman. This is the time the Walkman was around. And I literally listened to
What kind of Walkman?
It was the original one, Sony.
Yeah?
The original one. It didn't even record with the orange button to monitor the outside.
Yeah.
So, hey, you're not that old.
Oh, well, no, but
old enough to know
neither
that?
are you.
What? Okay, we'll talk about that later. Anyway, so so that's how I started to listen to classical music, and I hit all the sign, every possible sign that may make the people think that I'd be influenced by Oscar Peterson.
Yeah.
I hit all that.
Yeah.
And then I composed all new music, and probably I got so inspired by this Prokofiev music. So my composition kind of started from this piece, But anyway, I was listening to a lot of classical music when I need it.
Right.
So every time I make a new record, I go up buy new classical CDs and then listen to other composers and okay, here's a new idea.
Right. Right.
So that's why my first record doesn't have any swing piece. And all that. But then from the second record on, I went back to more straight ahead jazz because I spent enough time not to sound like Oscar Peterson already.
Right.
Within a year or so, I was okay.
Right.
But playing classical music was not in my life plan at all. It was like once I did this concert in Berlin. It was a anniversary concert for excuse me.
Yeah.
I have a friend of mine waiting for me outside at 2 o'clock. I just want to make sure. Sorry.
Oh, no problem.
Okay. They're in, so we can do it. Okay. Where are we?
So classical.
Oh yeah. I mean, in Berlin there was a Bach 300 anniversary concert, and I was invited to improvise because he was a great improviser. When I got there, the morning of the performance day, I was talking with the promoter, having breakfast, and he said, "Oh, so what Bach piece are you going to play?" I said, "What are you talking about?" I said, "I'm supposed to just improvise."
Oh.
Yeah, but you have to play one piece. I said, "I didn't know this."
Oh dear.
Yeah, and then the only thing I knew was like Bach 2-part inventions, like basic stuff. And I still, that was like I haven't played that piece for like 10 years or something. And it's a full house in Symphony Hall in Berlin, and everything. The first 5 minutes of every performer, the Bach specialist, are going to be televised all over Europe.
Right.
And I was in trouble. I knew I was in trouble. But he said you must play at least a short piece. Whatever.
Was this the day of the performance?
Yeah, I mean, my manager didn't tell me about this.
Oh my goodness.
He told me like, they want you to improvise on Bach's music.
Yeah.
So I went to get the music and I tried to learn the piece and I remembered all the pieces, but then still to play classical music in Berlin, the Bach, and of course I really did a terrible performance, and then I said to myself, and after that I improvised and the people really liked performance, but the first 3 minutes of this Bach 2-part invention was a disaster. you know. And but anyway, so I told myself, okay, I will never ever play written music in front of people.
Really?
Yeah, because I was so scared. I got traumatized completely.
But that wasn't your fault.
I
You
know,
didn't
but still, well, I can't go out and tell this story to everybody. You know.
You didn't tell anybody after that?
No,
What happened?
but I mean, I said it, but then that sounds like an excuse. You still have to do it. That's the name of this game. Because
were people harsh after that performance?
They didn't say anything,
Uh-huh.
but the numbers of my gig in Europe went down. So they knew. They were like, wow, okay, he can't play. Because what they televised was just the first 3 minutes. And
Right.
they didn't televise.
The improv part?
Mm-mm.
Oh my goodness.
Well, that was a deal. You know. Yeah.
Okay.
So, but anyway, so it's okay. Then I said to myself, okay, this is it. Classical
Yeah.
music for someone else. And so I keep on playing jazz.
Yeah.
10 years ago, I got an offer from Sapporo Symphony Orchestra. It's led by a great conductor named Tadaaki Otaka. He was a conductor for BBC before, and he's now the head of NHK Symphony. And I didn't know who he was until I met him, because I was not in the classical field, you know. And he was talking on NHK radio that someday I'd like to do Rhapsody in Blues, Makoto Ozone. And my fan actually sent me a cassette tape of him talking, you know, on the radio. So I said, wow, who's this guy, you know? I said, but I'm so happy that he likes to
Your
do
music,
that. Yeah. So when I got this offer, I thought it was Rhapsody in Blue, because coming from him, it's a symphony gig, you know. So sure, I'll do it.
Okay.
4 months later, I called my manager. I said, you know what? Why don't you go Sapporo Symphony just to make sure it's Rhapsody in Blue?
Yeah.
My manager called me back in 2 minutes. They said, you know what? They say Mozart. I said, how could that be? But the thing is, I didn't make sure when I took offer. I didn't ask them. It's Rhapsody in Blue, right? You know. So I thought it was Rhapsody in Blue.
Right.
You know. And I didn't talk to the Sapporo Symphony directly because my manager is not the classical guy at the time. He was not, you know. So he didn't ask, because when jazz people get concerts and offers, and we don't talk about the material because we normally do our music.
Right.
You know.
Right.
So he said Mozart, and I froze. I literally froze. Like, no, this is impossible. Why is this happening to me? And again, written music. You know, I haven't done that since Berlin.
Right.
And okay, and I asked them, okay, did they say the number of Mozart? Because no, they want you to pick the one you like.
Okay.
And I didn't know any of them. So I went straight to HMV.
Yeah.
And I got myself a whole box of Mozart concertos.
Yeah.
And it took me 10 days to listen to all 27 concertos.
Right.
And then I picked number 9, Juno, E flat major. And I was so nervous that I don't remember anything from this concert.
Wow.
And I played it through no problem, you know.
Yeah.
Somehow I got to the end. And then people liked it, and the conductor said, "Wow, that was wonderful." He thought it was wonderful.
Right.
But at this time I had 6 months to work on it, so I was playing and practicing every day, memorized everything. But again,
did you enjoy the process at least?
No, not quite.
You didn't.
I liked the music.
Right.
That was the only part that helped me to.
But you didn't like the 6 months of having to look at the written music.
Yeah, and the worst part was a concert. I mean, I was so nervous, and this was not even a special concert. It was one of their subscription concerts. So the 80% of the audience is a heavy-duty classical fans.
Right.
So there you go again, you know.
But you said it went well, right?
It did well. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't great. But
in your opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, but because I don't remember anything. I have the recording of it, and then I listen to it. Because all my touch is different, everything.
But people might have loved it.
They liked it. Yeah. And obviously the conductor liked it.
Yeah.
And then he sent the words out to a lot of different conductors, and Makoto's Mozart is so different, but it's so interesting.
So there you go.
And I started getting offers from other orchestras. Like, what's going on? But I listened to this recording, right?
Yeah.
And I knew, I thought I did pretty good in terms of the sound for a jazz guy.
Yeah.
And I listened to it and said, no, it's not good. So I decided to go back to school. I have a friend of mine who was teaching at the Eastman School of Music. So I called him up, hey, Barry, teach me how to play piano. He said, what the hell are you talking about? I said, I need to do this, you know.
Yeah.
So
how old were you at this point?
I was 43 then. Yeah, this was 10 years ago. So
you haven't aged at all.
thank you. And so I went to school, and I didn't play any jazz for that 4 months, one semester. And
was it hard? Did you miss it?
No, actually no. They have a very good jazz department there, and they wanted me to do the master class, and they wanted me to do a concert with their big band. I said, look, Harold Danko is the head of the jazz department at the time. The Harold, I'm sorry, I'd love to. Normally I would.
Right.
But I'm in a period right now that I'm not going even near jazz music because I want to dip myself into classical music. And so he goes, okay. So I did that. And according to Barry and all the other teachers, everything I was doing was wrong. According to them, you know, how to approach the piano. You know, I mean, the way
it's very different from jazz.
It's just different. Yeah, exactly. So that I got scared, you know, because I had another Mozart concert coming up in Tokyo after this, you know, semester.
Yeah.
And because I'm discovering the difference.
Yeah.
Like little details,
right.
and you know, well, now something vague was now getting really clear. And it's okay. This is the part I cannot do.
Right.
This is the part I cannot do.
Right.
Before it was like I know I'm doing something different, but what?
Right.
But now I know I'm
right.
you know I'm doing different because I can't do it the way they want me to do.
Right.
And I have to play the Mozart again with the Tokyo Philharmonic and right in the heart of Tokyo.
The same Mozart or different?
Yeah, the Nine.
Okay.
Nine. And that was the only Mozart solo piece I could do at the
okay.
time. And but I had to do it. But then I started to expand my repertoire because I cannot just play number 9 all the time. So I learned the 27, and I learned 6, and then you know, of course, I play all the Gershwin's Concerto in F, and and also I play Bernstein Symphony No. 2, and Edwin and I are talking about doing that. Hopefully next time we get together, and the other conductor asked me if I wanted to play Shostakovich.
Wow.
Because Shostakovich was, you know, heavily influenced by jazz music. It's not jazz at all, but and then I tried that, and I really like it. It's like become one of my favorite concerto, Concerto 1. And then I played Rachmaninoff Paganini Rhapsody. So now the intensity, also the what's the word I'm looking for, the technical requirement is getting higher and higher. And then now I'm going back to Prokofiev 3. Now I'm playing it this time. Right. So, and I'm playing it in about 3 weeks. And that's what I was practicing downstairs.
So where is it going from here on out? Do you think you'll be doing a lot more classical, or?
I would like to keep doing it.
Yeah.
I know I'm not going to be a classical piano player. You know,
you have your own brand.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I mean, I'm playing so different from everybody.
Right.
I could do that, but still, learning classical music, learning concerto is so great in two things. One, I practice so much.
Right.
So that I have actually become a much better piano player than 10 years ago. You know, technically speaking.
Because of the discipline required.
Yeah, because I never practiced this much in my life.
Right.
You know.
Right.
Before, you know, when people say, "Oh, I practice 6 hours," it's like, "Are you crazy? What do you practice 6 hours?" You know.
Right.
You know.
Right.
But now I understand because you have to rub it into system and you have to really get it into fingers.
Yeah.
That's one as a piano player, but two as a composer. It's quite an experience to play, you know, these elaborate pieces because harmonic structure and just melody ideas and it's mind blowing to learn a new piece, you know. And then every time I learn a new piece, my next composition is definitely influenced by that piece.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
I wrote this piece for my big band. It's called it's like a big band symphonic poem.
Yeah.
And it's like 40 minutes long piece.
So
it's crazy.
Yeah.
But I was writing it as I was doing a Paganini Rhapsody, so you definitely hear a little bit of Rachmaninoff in there.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
What are your happiest moments?
Well,
these days, specifically?
I think it's always been when people show me how much they liked it.
Mm-hmm.
Like uploading is one thing. It's when I finish the piece
Mm-hmm.
and I see their faces, and if they're energized, I'm the happiest. That's like
So
really
still the same little boy.
still the same little boy. Yeah, when they're happy, like wow, great, this is it. I've done it. Good. It's not about me. It's of course it's about me, but
Right.
it's not really about how well I played.
Right.
Because in concerts, sometimes I miss the notes and
Everybody does.
yeah, I go elsewhere sometimes. But then I do the same thing with the orchestra. When I start improvising, I get the eye contact to a lot of orchestra people.
I've seen that in some of your videos.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
so I love to get connected with people.
Yeah.
That's the connection is everything. This interplay, communication.
Yeah.
That's what gives me the happiest moment.
Why does it matter to you so much, making people happy?
I think this is my philosophy about living is that we all live for others. That's how I feel. Of course I do my things.
Right.
I make money. I eat what I want.
Right.
I do my things, but I talk to some of the students that very shy students, especially Japanese, and they're so shy, but this shyness always comes from a self-conscious.
Right.
It's, when they're always worried about themselves,
Right.
they can't care for others.
Sure.
And I said, remember, I tell them like just because you're being here, just because of your existence, you're making someone happy.
Right.
Maybe your parents,
Right.
your friends, and some kids have a very tough parents and they're not maybe connected, but there's someone out there. Just because you're here, you can make them happy. Just being here.
Right.
That's why I say we live for others.
Did you get that from your parents?
No, I don't know. Maybe I got it from somewhere. The movie,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of drama, and I'm so. And the music is about the people.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about the people. That's why I like to tell stories, even in my improvisations. Sometimes I can create like real anger.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's like just sort of the happiest, lovely moment. You're in love,
Mm-hmm.
And you see the light coming in, coming down from, the sky to,
Right.
like a glorious moments.
Right.
And everything. It's all about people. So that's why if I can make people feel something with my notes, that's what I live for.
Wow.
Yeah.
What's your process for getting through really difficult moments? Do you get really emotional, or are you more logical?
I do. But you know what? I only get sad when I've done something wrong.
Okay.
I don't get hurt by others much.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for some reason that I don't run into people say harsh things to me. I don't know
good.
why. Because they know I'm so arrogant that I'm not going to listen to them.
You think you're arrogant?
I used to be.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm okay. Let me rephrase it. Very opinionated in a way because I have a strong. I believe myself. I
Right.
believe in myself, so that I could be wrong to someone else,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't want to be wrong to myself. So
Sure.
that's why when I do something wrong,
Mm-hmm.
I know I'm doing it wrong,
Mm-hmm.
and that's my weakness.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, I did it again. So that's what really hurts me.
Mm-hmm.
But I always tell myself, okay, I don't have time to be blue.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, go apologize to that person.
Mm-hmm.
And I do that.
So you don't dwell on negative thoughts?
I'm too optimistic sometimes. That's what people say,
Well, that's a great quality.
Yeah, but, thank you. But I need that to be on the stage.
Being optimistic, you mean?
Well, to be positive.
Of course.
Yeah, because people spend money to come into concerts or
Right.
jazz clubs to
Right.
be happy.
Sure.
They wanna receive energy,
Sure. That's
So,
a great way of putting it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, because they had tough day at work.
Right.
Okay, let's go for a drink. You want to have a
Right.
good time.
Right.
So if you go to a concert, you want to have a good time.
Right.
You want to be happy.
Mhm.
So I'll make sure that as many people as possible, walking out of this concert hall being happy or being energized by listening to my music, their music.
Right.
And it's so wonderful. Nothing makes people happier than watching or experiencing, witnessing other people having a great communication.
Right.
That's what's happening on the stage. Me and orchestra, Edwin, we become one big family.
Right.
The music has that power to connect people regardless of your origin.
Right.
Religious thing, language, skin. It doesn't matter, male or female. Once you start playing, music is such a universal language.
Right.
But you have to mean it. You cannot play what's right or wrong. It's not that. It's not about that. It's about how you feel. So
Emotions. Yeah.
Emotions. Yeah.
Right.
And if you play with the people like San Francisco Symphony, the first class musicians,
Right.
they know what you're talking about. As soon
Right.
as I play the note, they're like, okay,
Right.
that's what you. That's the joy
Right.
of playing at such high level music, musically speaking. It's easy.
In-depth conversations.
Yeah, conversations. And then we're being so happy. We're getting energized.
Right.
We're feeding off each other.
Right.
And then and the audience watch this thing and they become happy. They get so sucked into the
Right.
Communication, regardless of right notes or wrong notes.
Right.
It's all about that.
That's the best music.
Yeah, that's the best
Yeah.
music.
It's a good note to end on.
Oh,
Thank
great.
you.
Yeah, thanks a lot.